And we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela with another live edition of Notes on the News, where I share with you headlines from my news feed because we got to try to keep up a little bit with what's going on in the world. Even if we can't read the whole article, we can read the headline, right? And sometimes I might also share with you my thoughts and opinions about the headline, about the article that's connected to the headline, about the paragraph that follows the headline, and about the subject matter at large. But rest assured, it's not news. It's just my notes on the news. I'm Angela, and the channel is Be Fabulous You. And if you are coming back, welcome back. If you're one of the first 1,000 subscribers, thank you so much. And if you are not new, if you're new to the channel or not one of my first 1,000 subscribers, go ahead and join the fun. It's a party over here. Woo, woo. Yeah. Okay. So let us proceed. Good morning, whoever joined the chat. I'm going to try to do better because I saw somebody's live yesterday and you could actually see the stream of what people were saying. And so it's when you watch the playback, it can be very confusing when I'm reading on the screen and the people in the chat are reading on the screen. But the playback has a whole nother experience. So we're going to try to do better. Okay, so let's proceed with the notes on the news feed. Welcome to the unique world of BBC, where staff aren't fired for ripping their bosses to shreds on TV. Ripping their bosses to shreds on TV. So there's been this whole thing going on. I haven't followed it closely, but where a woman was suing the BBC, which is a news broadcasting service in Britain, England, whatever, I guess. And so it's been broadcast on their on their channel. They've been doing interviews with her supervisors. Other women have come forward. And I think they say they've corrected the pay parity. Now, I was scanning the article, and when she came to the company, she was told, which I was surprised, that she would be paid the same amount as her male colleagues. So, yeah, that's the BBC. Ranked the most authoritarian regimes in the world. Just the other day, probably from the same study, from the same work, we had a list of the most democratic regimes in the world. And most of them seem to be Norwegian, Scandinavian, white. Now, I was suspecting when I saw this title, I'm like, oh, so are most of these going to be black? Blackity, black. Most of these countries, there are a couple like stands, like not necessarily Pakistan, but like some other countries where their names end in stan. And I think most of those are kind of in that same region, not exactly Middle East, but kind of like above, north of India, and kind of like in that region of the world. So kind of, so there were there were 2 or 3 of those. There were a couple that I would categorize as Middle Eastern. So brown. There were a couple Black African countries, at least the images that they had accompanying them. Hey, good morning. My Twisted Life with Poetry is saying that she made it into the live. Yay! Now, I got 2 people in the live feed. I'm doing the properly bona fide. And I have 0 likes. You coming into my house. Welcome to my house. I'm bringing you notes on the news feed live. Can you bring me a like? Thank you. Yay. You're the greatest. Okay, let me stop harassing people who just come and want to be left alone. So there were a couple that were like is in. Thank you, Mama, Miss Twisted Life of Poetry. So there were a couple African, like the Central African. I don't know. Let me not quote the names of the countries because I don't remember. We got 4 people in and 3 likes. Yay! So and then the number 1 most authoritarian country or regime in the world, according to this list, was North Korea. And when I first started looking, they were scored on a scale of 100. So like, and so when I first saw it, it was like 65 out of 100 was the first country, but it was actually 2.65 out of 100. And I think that North Korea, they had it like 1.09 out of 100. So, yeah. Okay. North Korea uses Berlin embassy to get missile parts. Berlin, Germany. U.S. police officer run over by car thieves. Migrant crisis. 20 bodies pulled from sea near Morocco. And that's a region of the world where Africa connects with Europe, or where Africa connects with Europe, but where through a body of water you can connect Africa and Europe. So I guess that's a way that a lot of people who are trying to leave Africa and get to Europe, that's a transit route. And so there were 20 bodies pulled from the sea. Since I've been doing notes on the news feed, it seemed like it's a constant conversation about bodies and people who have made their transitions. And, it's a lot of activity in that region of the world. At least 2 dead and 70 injured as passenger and freight train collide in South Carolina. That's right here in the United States. So that just happened this morning sometime. I haven't seen the news yet. So I'm not quite clear, on what happened. It was an Amtrak crash. Yeah, so we already talked about that. So peace for those people who have definitely made their transition, for their families and friends and communities, the people who have injured. It's been a lot of train crashes this month. Yeah, it has. Amtrak has had a couple of train crashes too, that are kind of interesting. But peace to all of the families and communities that are affected directly by it, and peace to all of us who are affected indirectly by train crashing and stuff like that. Stuff like that increases your anxiety, even if you're not conscious of it, of traveling. Like they say, airline, getting hurt on airplanes is not really very common. But when we hear about crashes, people start getting more nervous about getting on airplanes. When you hear about train crashes, you start getting more nervous about getting on trains on some level. I wonder if these trains are digitally controlled. Searching for a cult leader, I don't know what that was. University of Maryland building a monument to Frederick Douglass. Yay, University of Maryland. Major gun shows report a decrease in attendance compared to the Obama days. So I guess when my theory is that when Obama was in office, some people subconsciously and consciously became very anxious that, good morning, everybody. Hi, OG Purple Johnson, became concerned consciously and subconsciously that, oh my God, the black people are in control. We, the white people, have done some really, really foul things. So they going to be getting revenge. We better go get our guns. We better be ready, because now that they is in power, it's on and popping. That's what I'm thinking that they're thinking. But, so there was like an increase in gun show attendance. And I guess now that President Zero, and we got that from you, Miss Poetry. Now that President Zero is in office, I guess they feel like they're protected and safe, so they don't have to go to the gun shows to get a bunch of guns. But did you go to gun shows or go someplace and get you a bunch of guns? Do you feel less protected? Do you feel like a gun will protect you from the white supremacists? I don't know. I'm not going to tell y'all what I do. I don't know nothing about no guns or shooting. After contract details leak, Tracee Ellis Ross set to direct Blackish episode. One episode of Blackish, I guess. So she hasn't really said anything publicly about what's going on her in terms of her negotiations. Tracee Ellis Ross. The word came out that she made more than her co-star. The word, what's his name? The word also came out that her co-star was a producer and she's simply an actor. So I don't know if they're trying to get paid parity by giving her an opportunity to do something on the other side of the camera. I'm not sure what's going on. But she hasn't talked about it other than to tweet, I think this morning, hey, I'm going to be directing an episode of Blackish or whatever. Sarah Randolph Bailey focused on empowering young girls with girl reserve groups. Now, apparently this is before black girls could join the Girl Scouts, and she was passionate, I guess, about Girl Scouts, and so she had girl reserve troops in the groups. Girl reserve troops, I think, eventually became Girl Scout troops. Were you a Girl Scout? You know how to camp and tie knots and make fire with sticks and stuff like that? I don't. Killers of 15-year-old hero praised by President Obama get sentenced to over 300 years. Poetry, you got kicked out of the Girl Scouts. Lord. So I'm glad that the killers, I guess, got sentenced to over 300 years. But you know, this is always my conversation. So the 15-year-old child is dead. So now that they've been sentenced to 300 years, does the child come back to life? No. If they had been killed, does the child come back to life? No, it's just a wrap. And OG Purple Johnson says she always wanted to be a Girl Scout. I never really wanted to be one. Now, for a second, I kind of thought those patch things were kind of cool, but yeah. So I'm not back to the whole the 15-year-old here the people going to jail for 300 years or being sentenced to 300 years, because of course most of us aren't going to live no 300 years. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like yay, but it's not like a serious, sincere, excited, deeply felt yay. It's kind of like okay. And I skimmed the story. I wasn't really familiar with it, but I'm still not familiar with it. U.S. hunter knocked unconscious by Canada goose. So this person is out here hunting. Yeah, I'm going to kill these geese. Bam, bam, bam. Somebody else kills a goose, and the goose fall on his head. Is 10 or 15 pounds. He get knocked out. And I kind of feel like, you know, Revenge of the Geese in a way, except for that goose is dead. The goose wasn't trying to get him. But, you know, I guess you can't call it karma because, you know, we can start our own troop, but we need to do glam style camping. Glamping. They call it glamping. At least that I know. So the hunter was knocked unconscious by the Canada goose. And I don't really... am I clapping? I didn't mean to clap. I don't really feel... I guess I just feel like, well, you out here killing geese. You know, it's a wonder more geese ain't fell on your head or tried to get you with their beaks or whatever. Study, U.S. students... And this is, again, one of those situations where I'm like, we had to do a study for this. Study, U.S. students aren't learning the full truth about slavery. They say a lot of times when the people are teaching the class, they be like, and the black people were enslaved, and Martin Luther King came and made them free. Like the story is just like, or I guess what we've been seeing Homegirl, what we've been seeing people do the other day, like the woman who had the 3 children on the floor and stepped on them as part of her lesson on slavery. I guess that's, the other part of, this curriculum, which is not really a curriculum on slavery that we have in this country, or the enslavement of black folks and brown folks and the stillation of the people's land who were here already. The 1937 Parsley Massacre. Now, this I had just read about the other day. It happened in Haiti. It's connected with with Haiti and Dominican Republic. Y'all know there's like a lot of tension between Haiti and DR. And this was something where Trujillo, I think that he was leading Dominican Republic at that time, and he was like killing, hey, we got 4 people in and 4 likes, thank you. Trujillo was killing or was on this mission to get at Haitians. And so because there's a different pronunciation of the word parsley, if you say it, in Spanish versus if you say it in French and or patois, they use the word parsley. Say the word parsley, and if you said the word parsley wrong, then they like you Haitian and we killing you. But part of the thing is that some people might have a good accent. We got 6 in and 5 likes, thank you. Some people might have a good accent. I might be Haitian, but I might speak Spanish with a good accent, or whatever. So, but what was interesting to me about that story, or this news story that I just skimmed that I didn't know before, is that the Haitians got reparations. Now, their reparations, what they were awarded, amounted to around $30 a person, which is a really small amount of money. But Africans in America have received have we received any? If we received reparations, I didn't hear nothing about it. But anyway, they were awarded about $30 per person. But after all of the brouhaha, what they actually got was about $1.37 per person. Not a damn thing is what the poetry says, is what will finish that sentence, is what African Americans have gotten in reparations. I guess we've been blessed. We've gotten spiritual reparations and cultural reparations because we can play basketball good, not me. And we can sing good, not me. Is that the reparation? Yeah. And it's not repaired. Now, this year, the museum, the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, last year the theme was the 50th year anniversary of the 1967 rebellion. And it was an excellent, conversation and just programming related to rebellions throughout the world, throughout the country. But this year is supposed to be reparations, not just reparations as in give us money, but reparations as in repair, to repair. How do you make something right? When you've done a wrong to someone, when you kill someone, how do you... Black history is, OG Purple, is resolved to slavery, mainly quick facts in February. If American slavery was correctly, I couldn't catch it all. But when you have enslaved my people, taken me from the homeland of my origin, forced me to work for generation after generation after generation with no compensation or very little compensation, beat me, rape me, male and female, disconnected me from my culture, harassed me. I mean, I can't even articulate, and then it continues. It's not like, well, after slavery, it was all done, so let's get to repairing. No, even today, these people are out here mad, just mad at Black folks. And I'm like, y'all the ones that, y'all are more, to me, it seems like white people are more mad at Black folks than Black folks are more mad at white folks. But how do you even begin to repair? Because we be quick to forgive, and, I'm amazed by that. Whenever we see, like when the Emmanuel 9, they were quick to talk about forgiveness. We forgive, we forgive, we sorry. Now, I did read an article after that said that what happens is that those people are in economic dire straits. So if they're out there on the national news talking about, hell no, I don't forgive a goddamn thing, excuse my language, then, Miss Ann and Mr. Charlie, boss lady and boss man, you might not have a job. So, people have to be cautious on how they are. So, in the same way that we be like, yes, we so happy. But, when we talk to each other, we not talking like that. We like, yeah, I'm mad. I'm leaving. I'm trying to get out of here. I've escaped 16 times. They brought me back 16 times. But I'm about to try to escape one more time because this is some bull. We were always fighting, but you can't always let people know that you fighting when you fight. And you can't always let people know that you mad when you mad. Sometimes you have to, you go to work and you be like, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? But you're looking for another job, so you got to do what you got to do. But so they got reparations. Black people need to be cautious. Yes. So they got reparations, some form of reparations in Haiti for the Parsley Massacre. Now, what I want to talk to also related to this is Conyers, who is the congressman from Michigan, who, when all of this #MeToo stuff came out, he was attacked. And it was kind of like a little bit confusing because, being from Detroit, being from Michigan, a lot of times, you hear rumors about people. We all hear rumors about people in our community and in our communities, like our local community. If we're in entertainment, we hear things about people in entertainment. And some people I know were in politics, and the rumors that were going on about him would not involve him having relations with a woman. So it was sort of like confusing, like Conyers, like that whole thing just seemed weird. I think he was definitely the oldest, longest standing member, African American member of Congress. He might have been the longest standing member of Congress, but every year he would bring that reparations bill to Congress. Is anybody else going to do that? I don't know if anybody else is going to do that, but he had a certain consciousness. He had a certain intention. And I'm sure he moved in certain circles in such a way to, he moved in that world in a way that I think that he just, when the opportunity came to get rid of his behind, and he was older anyway, that some people took it. I don't know if those accusations were, I don't know. And I think he might have stepped down on those accusations because he didn't want something else that some people might have found more upsetting to come out. Because, hey, you know, you harass a woman, that's cool. But don't be gay out here. Now we just all upset. You know what I mean? That's how sometimes people feel. Texas officials allegedly engaged in bribes and kickbacks to make millions while building Trump's border wall. Now, this story is obviously fake news because we know that politicians are honorable people and would not do anything dishonest, especially Republican, you know, politicians and people out here working on building Zero's wall, right? I'm like, I don't even know why that's a story. That seems like that's obvious. That goes without saying. Moonlight writer on Envelope Gate in this year's Oscars. I was like, what's Envelope Gate? You know, at the award show where they, I guess at the Oscars where they said, and the winner is La La Land, but the winner was Moonlight. So he talks about that. China, the Vatican, and a controversial deal. A little corner of Brazil that is forever Okinawa, as in Okinawa, Japan, as in after the enslavement of Africans was no longer legal, there were people who were imported from throughout the world or encouraged to immigrate to Brazil from throughout the world, and Okinawa was one of those places. The Okinawa culture in Japan was kind of dampened down, apparently. So there's like a purer form of that culture and language in Brazil than there is in Japan. Sort of like the Yoruba language and culture has, you know, there's a sort of purity and an old worldness here in the new world that wasn't maintained in the old world because we had to secretly deal with our language and culture, and they just dealt with it outright and out front, so it evolved and changed. But when you hold something secret, it gets a little, I don't want to say stagnant, but yeah, it doesn't change as much. It becomes preserved perfectly. Federal judge, I used to be stationed in Okinawa. Oh, really? Federal judge rules Florida process, poetry that is, was stationed in Okinawa. My Twisted Life with Poetry TV, my Twisted Life TV with Poetry, Twisted, L-Y-F, life spelled life. The whole thing is just twisted up, y'all, but you can find it with life and poetry, L-Y-F. Federal judge rules Florida process to restoring felon voting restoration unconstitutional. My Twisted L-Y-F. Look at that, life and poetry, and you can find her because that's how I find her sometimes when I can't find her. Speaking of the weirdness of YouTube, I got a message from YouTube today. Now, I'm at 200 something subscribers the last I looked. I got a message from YouTube today talking about congratulations on your 100 subscribers. I'm like, did I lose a bunch of what's going on? What go on? But anyway, Mexico finds nearly 200 migrants hidden in a cramped lorry, and they say that they were about to be trafficked to the United States. Were they about to be trafficked to the United States, or were they trying to, because trafficking I think of as like we were trafficked from mostly West Africa to the United States in chains, and when we got here we were still treated as if we were owned by somebody else. Whereas if I just am a migrant and then when I get to the country, I'm free and I try to do my own thing and make my own way. So I didn't really understand that headline. China, and that's it. We have looped back around to our, we've looped back around to the beginning of our, the last thing we had on our news feed. So that's it, Poetry Girl. I'm interested to hear about that. Yeah, you should do a story time on Okinawa, and say some Japanese words. Teach us a little something. That's all I got today. So if you are not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe now. Consider subscribing. I guess if you need to pray on it, pray on it. Happy 4th day of Black History Month. We making this Black History Quarter. You know, Carter G. Woodson, we started off with Black History Week. We expanded it to a Black History Month. We working on Black History Quarter. And, you know, oh, you're going to start story time again, poetry is. So, happy day today. Today is the best day ever. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being fabulous you. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Be you. I'm about to turn it off, y'all. Be fabulous you. Peace. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you.